Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Dev Chat. I'm CCP Monty, joined by CCP Collins, and we are here to, well, it's the end of the week. It's a beautiful London evening here in London, I kind of said it, where we're building out EVE Vanguard, and it's always getting sooner to the big event coming up in September. CCP Collins, what I really just wanted to know, so the last time we heard you speak essentially on Vanguard was at the FanFest stage.
Mm-hmm.
It's been decades since, or years, or like nobody remembers when it's this long. So what's been going on, dude?
Since FanFest, wow, it's honestly just riding that wave. Like FanFest was awesome. Like we honestly didn't think it would go as well as it did. We were kind of just, let's turn up, let's show some stuff. Really, we're not the huge focus of the show. We're just there to kind of be a supporting player to what is going to be kind of EVE Online and everything that's happening there. But the fact that we were giving so much time on stage, and we got such a great reception. We did a Q&A as well. We had our own 50-minute long presentation where we got to talk about everything that's going into Operation Nemesis and into early access in 2026. So it was like the reception we got and just bumping into people more so than we did when we announced at FanFest in 2023. We've been riding on that wave really, and a lot of the positivity we've been getting from a lot of the things we put in motion, our approach to weapons and kind of going more after that kind of 2000s aesthetic, and the thing about bastions taking a leading role in kind of the meta of the game. We were really quite nervous, these are big bets that we're making here. These are things that we're confident in, but how are they going to be received? But just went down really well. Like the press loved what they played. They loved what they saw. The player base out there and the fans of EVE Online, they love what they saw and they fed that all back. And it's just been it's been awesome. So really since then we've just been going heads down really. We've got a lot that we want to do, a lot of faith that we need to reward. And so we're kind of cooking at the moment. The team, we're, as we speak right now, only about 8 days away from feature lock for Operation Nemesis, and then we go into a period of hardening where we'll polish things up. So we've really been getting our head down on that. We've got a few prototypes that we've been working at as well that's a bit more further afield for stuff like early access, but really all of the team have been kind of heads down on getting that Operation Nemesis build to a really good point.
Okay, that's sweet. There were so many things in there that we can actually digest. We kick it off with Operation Nemesis. So September. It's all kicking off. Maybe just give people a little intro to what we're doing there.
Yeah, so Operation Nemesis is the next battle, right? This is a war in New Eden. This is the next battle, right? So it's kind of go time, really, as we lead into early access. It's that kind of a lot of players and a lot of people jumping in. We're hoping people who haven't taken the jump and played Vanguard before, this is a really good point to kind of go in as a first point to really start building that legacy.
Gate is green.
Exactly. Get in, right? We've been talking up a lot about that kind of the had to be there moments in a lot of games we used to play, hey, I was in the original Overwatch beta, or hey, I got to play Battlefield 2 2 months before it came out because I was at an Insomnia event and stuff like that. So this Operation Nemesis is get in, play it. It's the closest to the vision of this game and what it's going to be for the next 10 years than we've ever gotten, right? These new weapons, these new enemies, that new player journey. Oh my God, when you see that new player journey that the team are cooking up at the moment, it's a single player experience right now just to kind of introduce you to the world of New Eden. It is the most kind of closest we've ever got to the vision of what it's like to be on a planet amidst a war in New Eden. So being able to get players in at that point in September, playing that, and then going, we still got time. Give us your feedback. Let us know what you think. Come on this journey with us, because when we do press that big button for early access, we've already taken on all of your feedback at that point. So it's
and that's the constant feedback, the constant chat between the devs and the community, all happening through the Vanguard Discord, of course. What kind of feedback? Can you share a little bit with us? Just leading up until Nemesis, was there some specific pieces of feedback from the players that you can kind of mention as guiding lights when it came to making certain game decisions or changes? Did we throw something out?
Yeah, there's been a lot of things. So we've got a VIP program on our Discord as well, and every few weeks we get our VIPs together and we go hey, here's what we're working on. And we show them really early stuff. Like the shotgun that people got to play at FanFest and saw was iterated on through previous testing with our VIPs.
The Min-Matter shotgun, right?
Yeah. Oh, man. Like, with the fucking bouncing projectiles and stuff like that, is the closest to a flat cannon from Unreal Tournament that we've ever had in a game. And that, for me, is my favorite weapon. So
when I was watching those things, the Amar rifle, which I hate to say, like, I always play Galenti in EVE.
Yeah.
It's just something I started like back in 2004, and it's just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Like, there is a Megathron on my desk. That's the kind of thing, But that Amar rifle and the sound. I remember I interviewed this guy at FanFest. He would just done a playtest, and on top of that, it was right after the Vanguard keynote, and the guy was just like, he couldn't explain the good feeling, and you can see it. I need to find this video. I probably should just clip it in here. When he's going like, it's just the feel of that thing, and I was like, I know exactly what you mean, because it was like just sitting, especially like when we were sitting in Elborg, and you could listen, and it had this like bass tail coming after it, and you saw that it was like a one-shot kill. Oh my god!
The whole feeling of that, and a huge shout out to I can't remember his dev name. I'm really bad at that, remembering people's dev names, and I won't call out his real name, but our lead sound designer did an incredible job on those weapons. And even him, he's just like, oh yeah, it's just placeholder. Don't worry, I'll replace it later. And we're like, dude, like hearing it for the first time in that hall. I remember when we did the dry runs in Ilberg. Right, and we had it up on the screen, and I went into the microphone. I told the sound guys, I was like, this next bit, just crank it up. And when we heard that rifle fire for the first time, and you hear that, it's the tail, it's the
yeah,
like you can hear it like moving through the landscape.
Yeah.
Just everyone's ribs were shaking, and we were like, oh man, like this is it, this is awesome. So
Vanguard is going to be the best reason for people to purchase premium headphones or sound systems for your computer.
Yeah, buy up all them sound bars.
Premium sound companies. You probably heard that. Yeah, you can find you can find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, thanks for sponsoring this podcast. But yeah, it's been awesome. So we've just been leaning into a lot of that, and a lot of that got to where it was through us just playing with our VIPs. And it's the same with the new player journey. They're going in, they're playing it, they're going, this isn't really working. I don't really know what I'm doing here. And even further afield stuff like Bastions, we've got some internal prototypes that we're doing on how that's going to map out, not just for when we go into early access with Bastions. We built a prototype of what it might look like in like 2-3 years time, which is awesome. And we're kind of showing our VIPs that, and they're going, and they're feeding back on certain ways that they felt or anticipated it would work in their minds, because we've only talked about Bastions, especially in some of this stuff conceptually. So it's just a really good kind of temperature check for a lot of these things.
Yeah. I also just think we need to touch on Bastions a little bit, because I for one have heard this word thrown around a lot, and I kind of get it, but like I'm sure there's a lot of people who just heard Bastion, and it's like a hub for all things something. So tell us a little bit more about Bastions.
Yeah, I'm sure as we get after September, I think we'll be talking a lot more in detail as to how Bastions will work as a mechanic.
So we're more focusing on the gameplay, not the social MMO part.
So
in
for
September.
Exactly. So for September, for Operation Nemesis, there won't be any Bastions in play. You'll just be deploying to planets like you have done in Groundbreak or previously. And if you haven't played the game, there's a deployment map, and you can choose different planets and deploy down to them. But from early access, you'll be located in a position in space that's called a Bastion. And this is like basically it's a mercenary hub for the Vanguard. If we've been using a good reference from this, it's like the Continental in John Wick, right? It's that central hub where all of the hitmen go to, and they lick their wounds, they gather their gear, they make sure they're ready for the fight.
Sounds like a lovely place to just spend a Friday evening.
Yeah, exactly. You pick your job, but there's kind of like an unwritten rule: no fighting at the Continental. But when you're out on the field, it's it's a different story, right? So having these located in lots of different systems in space that are being built up by factions or corporations. There will be a Deathless Bastion. There will be a Sisters of Eve Bastion. And that Bastion will have access to certain planets. And those planets will have certain resources and certain enemies. So the kind of game that you want to play might dictate where you are in space. A bit like in an MMORPG, there are towns cities in different areas of the world, and they have access to different dungeons and different gear, and you may choose to be at different ones. It's a bit like that, but we want to place you in the universe. We want where you are in the universe to mean something. And at that bastion, there are a collective of other people working with you, alongside you, and even probably against you, on building up your reputation at that bastion and building that out so it has access to more planets, more resources, more enemies.
And then in some ways, which I mean, many of them will be announced later, it's also interacting with the broader New Eden.
Exactly. They are in the universe, and we're already talking with people across both studios on how bastions exist within the universe. It's great. There's a real kind of movement towards New Eden as a agnostic universe. EVE Online obviously takes a big part in that universe, but Vanguard exists in that universe as well.
And Vanguard's got big shoes to fill when it comes to it. I mean, if we look back to Dust, a unique thing, and don't even believe it's been done after even. And when you think about how long ago it was, it's like mind-blowing, just the interoperability of between the titles,
It's such a unique, like...
No pressure.
No, I know, exactly. But it makes my job so much easier when we can already build a shooter in that universe, right? Yeah. Nobody can do this. No, is a universe, a player-driven ecosystem and a player-driven war. It's been happening for 20 years. No shooter can just insert itself into that, not even...
And it's rewriting the story every day. Like every time I log into EVE, or I come into work, and we've got these internal channels, like of course, but where we are discussing what's happening in New Eden. And I just can't wait for Vanguard to become a part of that discussion. Where it's like, we've got space warfare, and then we got ground warfare, and it kind of somehow is mixing together. It sounds like something
it's going to be awesome, and it's going to take us some time to really tune it in and get to that point. But I think when we do, it's just going to be brilliant. It's one universe. All of these conflicts are happening, and we keep saying with Vanguard, right? Because we can make this claim. There are Guinness World Records on the walls in the Reykjavik office. This is the largest war in video game history. Yeah, and here you go. Here's a gun in your hand. Pat on the back. Off you go. Get stuck in, right? And that is...
Yeah, I've got this vision of like people that maybe were already grown-ups when they started playing EVE back in 04 or something like that, kind of recruiting their children into Vanguard to like finish something off for them. Yeah. But on that topic, both from actually this and also you mentioned earlier, like to benefit your playstyle depending on where you're in the world and such. Looking at the kind of FPSs out there, most of them kind of end up having a very specific playstyle. And now when I'm talking about a very specific playstyle, I'm not necessarily talking about like a level of gunplay or something like that, but more like maybe a level of intensity.
Yeah.
What do you foresee when it comes to Vanguard? Am I able to play it a little bit slow-paced, and then if I'm feeling like it, go like super fast-paced?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. We're trying to kind of have our cake and eat it. And I think that the general building an MMO FPS and building a sandbox game, a true sandbox game, is that everything's a scale. And we kind of want to give agency to the player on how they want to play the game and allow those different play styles to coexist, benefit, and even compete against each other in that world, right? Like you look at a lot of modern shooters that are far more competitive based, maybe a bit more lobby based. There is a way to win, and if you don't play that way, the game itself dictates what is failure and what is success. And if you don't play that way, then you're generally failing, and if you play the way it wants you to, you're generally succeeding.
And tapping into something like EVE, it's probably the game that was never had a design to win kind of thing. It had to be figured out, and everything that was figured out then got beaten by something else, which exactly. And the players are kind of defining what a win means, right? And that is the kind of the gameplay space that we want to do. When you go down to your deployment, you're setting your own goals, right? Maybe I just want to go down and mine some resources because I want to feed that into manufacturing so I can get that next upgrade that I'm looking for. I'm not looking to go down or kill anyone or fight or complete contracts. But do you foresee that people that literally prioritize manufacturing over combat?
Yeah, there's I think this is people are probably tired of me talking about this now, but there's a really good kind of taxonomy of different playstyles that exist in sandbox games, and it works really well in EVE already. And I think even the Air Career program leans into that. You've got your soldiers of fortune, your enforcers, your industrialists, and your explorers, right? And those are the playstyles regardless of whether we design against it or not, players are going to want to play that way. There are players that just like to, impose themselves over other people. There are players that like to impose themselves over the systems and are a bit like min-maxing, and that's kind of your industrialists, right? They're not winning against other players. They want to win against the economy. And like that is the kind of play styles that we want to build content for and build a gameplay space that can allow those to exist. I definitely foresee players only playing industrialist, and that is the play style that they're all about min-maxing the resources and how that can benefit other people and benefit themselves. But there will be people who just like, I just want to kill people, and building a space and building areas that can go down with them. Like we have that PvEVP sandbox at the heart of the game.
So I get those two.
Okay.
But I think the third one that you mentioned, the Explorer,
Yes.
is something that's super interesting, because if there's one thing that I'll just say it as it is, I miss from my early days when I was figuring out EVE to some of the MMOs I play growing up. It's been a while since I've gone into a game where I get a real sense of exploration. And I'm just going to shout out, do you know what's the last game where I got a real sense of exploration in?
What?
Call of the Wild, Hunter.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Like, and that never became I want to go out and hunt animals. That more came like, I have a reason to go and travel this mountain and do this stuff. I live in Iceland. I could also just go out the door and walk the mountain, but it's bad weather and, sun. This is easier now, but like, do you think you'll be able to reach, and this maybe especially towards people that have participated in the Space Wars of New Eden, a level where like just exploring the planet becomes an essential kind of just source of joy and just fun gameplay?
We really want to.
I'd love to.
Exploration for us
sounds so good in my ears.
In kind of the 4 different play styles, like Soldier of Fortune, is easy. You just build PvP content and you build structured PvP around that, which is why we've kind of been building out Insurgency. Enforcer gameplay is a bit more PvE driven, is a bit more support driven for us, and so just building in more squad play features and allowing kind of soft roles allows us there. Industrialization, like we've got mining in the game, we've got manufacturing in the game. We want to expand that out on kind of an industrial scale eventually. But exploration is that kind of that puzzle piece for us that I think is one of the things that we really want to tackle, and is probably the last piece that comes in. But when we look at bastions and them expanding out into different planets, we don't want it to be already known what resources are down on the planet, what enemies are on the planet, what hidden things and activities might be found there. We want to kind of lean into, we see that exploration playstyle really leaning into that, is there is uncharted territory. And for those that own a bastion, they'll be wanting to send down their explorers to go down and do that. And maybe I've always foresaw, I quite like the idea of information as a resource in the game, right? Like, hey, look.
I mean, how big of a resource is information need?
Yeah, you're an industrialist. You want to go down to a planet and you want to get, let's just say, material X. You don't want to spend the time going through every different planet just to find material X. I'm an explorer. I know where material X is, and I can sell you that information. I think those one of the things that I really like the idea of and want to expand into is that there is a legitimate use for players to just go into uncharted territory, find the rare resources and put a flag down almost and sell that information. Maybe even get a bit of a finder's fee, right? For like, if somebody comes and mines that resource and makes something with it or sells that on, it always links back to you. I was the one that discovered that. And maybe there's some deeper secrets that could be hidden within the planet's surface, right? That we need explorers for, and they're having to take down equipment to scan for that stuff.
But do you like that, for example, do you foresee the interoperability between the titles being such that potentially you would need somebody to do something for you like that, like go actually and data mine, get some information as an EVE player?
Oh yeah,
from a Vanguard player.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. You've got the 4 kind of play styles, but they're kind of like, there are 2 tertiary play styles. Then that interoperability, you can say that word much better than I can.
I would not be able to know. It's like there's just some words where my non-native English dies.
Oh, okay. But there's what we call like the mastermind and the patron. And the patron is something you'd see.
Obviously, both of us masterminds. It's just...
Yeah, of course. Yeah. There's a given. We didn't have to state that, but that was...
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have.
That was a different level play, but it's good. But there's... The mastermind is kind of... You see this a lot in EVE, especially in the Elder game. you know, this was, I'm not a big EVE player, so FanFest 2023 was a real big time for me, going and interacting with EVE, you know, fans and people who, you know, are so into the game that they're willing to travel to a little island in the North Atlantic to celebrate that.
Yeah,
And
watch out how you talk about my little island, though.
I love it. Don't worry. I think I've been there like 9 times now. Absolutely love it. I'm in love with how expensive it is to buy alcohol in that country.
Oh yes, that's why we have a beer on this podcast. It's like I'm just
As
gearing
we're
up.
in London, it's cheap alcohol. Well, I say London is definitely not cheap, but it's cheaper than Iceland. But anyway, the mastermind is that person that you speak to normally in EVE Online. It's like, I've been playing EVE Online for years, but I haven't flown a ship in like X months because I'm in the spreadsheets, I'm in the Discord, I'm in all the tooling, I'm masterminding my corporation and moving them around. And we kind of see that, especially with bastions, there will be a hierarchy in bastions, depending, and that while actually linking to the different play styles, you will have someone who's in charge of industrialization for that bastion, and they are moving their industrialists around. You know, right, we need these resources to build this infrastructure to expand the bastion. There will be people that be in charge of defending the borders, and there'll be people that are in charge of attacking to increase the boundaries into other territories and stuff like that. So
we could even be seeing corporations or such essentially holding a territory.
Oh, 100%. There is going to be a very, very strong, and I think the first corporation that really starts to take advantage of holding bastions and holding space. Not only are they holding space in EVE Online, they'll be now holding territory.
But it is the idea that if I hold space as a corp,
yeah,
that affects NPCs in that space?
It could do. There's a lot of things that we're playing around with these things on how we want this to do, but especially when we get into player-owned bastions, which will be post-early access. That's one of the first things we'll be working on is
player-owned NPCs.
I mean, who knows? Maybe with all of nothing's off the table. But the idea that player-owned bastion territories have an impact across both games, there isn't a given, right? Having corporation space in EVE Online, someone could hold your deepest, darkest enemies could hold a bastion in your territory, and that could have an impact. And so you're having to think about, right, how do I rally my Vanguard, to take that bastion so I can hold both bastion and turret? What?
How would you rally your Vanguard?
Well, for me, I would, you know, I'm going to cheese it. I'm just going to use FanFest. I'll just get on stage at FanFest and just be like, join my cause. It's a very social thing, and that's what we lean into. You talk about EVE Online as a friendship machine, right? The mid to the elder game, where the territory and the player-owned bastions becomes far more important in Vanguard. It's leaning into the same motivations, the same communities that exist and drive that elder game in EVE Online anyways.
But how big do you foresee like the group play? So, you know, we got the squads and things like that already in the playtest. But like we know in EVE, you can have you can play it solo, you can play as a small gang, a corporation, an alliance, Imperium, whatever, you know. Yeah. It's like we're seeing these fights with thousands and thousands of people in system, and I obviously know that we're not necessarily looking at the same thing, but like how do you foresee the average player just that wants to have fun in Vanguard? He logs in. Is he playing alone? Is he playing with 2 friends? Is he playing with a 20-man squad? Is he joining his corp on a 100-person expedition?
Yeah, you know? I think it scales. I think initially Vanguard is better together. Playing solo is, like a lot of these games, it's kind of like hard mode, right? You have to be very, very careful about the fights that you pick, because more often than not, you are going to be outnumbered. So
there's one thing that's always said in EVE, which I love, which is like, if you got into a good fair fight, you made a mistake.
I think exactly that, right? If you're getting into a fair fight, you've maybe done something wrong. Yeah. You always want to, and that's what we call like pre-combat. You endure in the game through preparation. You're not just winning on merit. You prepared for that fight. You analyzed who you're going to be fighting against. You had that moment of hesitation where you go, right, can I take these guys on? Yeah, I think I can.
You kind of want every PvP encounter to be like a boss fight.
Exactly.
You prep for it, you've thought about it, you kind of situate yourself, geared yourself up, done all the stuff.
You couldn't have said it better. And it's like that, finding another Vanguard in the field is like a boss fight, right? Yeah. And you have to prepare for that. You can't just run in willy-nilly because you don't know what they're packing. You don't know if they're alone. And this is why we're adding things in like prox chat, and we want to add in things like emergent squadding. So it's not all lobby based. You can just find someone on the field and go, hey, I actually think we're working towards the same thing here. Let's not kill each other. Let's partner up.
Which would be the best first step to then kill that person.
Of course. Well, we always talk about fragile alliances, right? And that's the Eve way, right?
Yeah.
That's very Eve, is being able to just, hey, we've helped each other now, and now on extraction just go, thank you very much. I think I'm going to kill you now.
I wish I had like a story of that in New Eden, like a book where I could just, each page is just one story. It's like, that is just after the book. The other book I want, which I don't know if exists, is like the story behind every sign you see in the world. Because there's always, like, for every sign, there is a reason. There's a story. Yeah. So those two, I should make them.
But to get to answer your question.
On the story or the sign?
No. I want to do the forward in your book. The squad, but really the community aspect becomes a large part of the game. You can carry on being a lone wolf for as long as you want in the game, but when you get to the bastions, there is a sense of community and there is a sense of a common cause, right? Like, we are working towards increasing and defending the borders of this bastion. This is, I'm part of an organization. We're playing around with the name, whether it's corporations or like it's a Vanguard house that's part of a corporation or something. But there is a structure there. I'm part of a well-oiled machine of free agent mercenaries that are working to defend the borders here. How PvP works in Bastion versus Bastion combat is something we're still kind of play around with at the moment. Is that kind of like async PvE, or is it more direct PvP or something? It's something we're going to play around with, but we want to nail NPC Bastions first for early access, and then we'll start expanding into solving the problem of not the problem, let's say, but solving how we tackle player-owned Bastions and in a way that makes sense in New Eden.
And that's essentially maybe something that, with the whole, and the people might not always get, but with the whole, CCP has, for the longest time, like, been the studio that develops with the audience. It develops with the players. I've seen this, like, so in my short time here now at the studio and as a player before, but like after I joined, I've seen it so hands-on. Like, literally hands-on. Just handwritten notes from players talking about a change, and that change is now being implemented.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. And that's probably something, and talking on, like, and getting around to, for example, the Nemesis event.
Yeah.
This is why we so want people, and people that know New Eden, people that know EVE, people that enjoy these games, or maybe even aren't big FPS players, just come in, give us that feedback, because we're not building this game for ourselves. Well, we are, because we love playing this sort of games and we see loads of cool things, but we're building it for this player base that's already there.
And I think one of the things that Vanguard is really, we're hoping to tap into as well, is, like, we've talked about this a lot, like the EVE curious, right? Like, I actually would say I'm EVE curious in the sense that I love the universe. Everything I've read about it, all the stories and Guinness World Records.
Yeah, better become a movie before I leave this planet.
yeah,
100%.
Well, and it's those stories that I just get captivated by. But for me personally, and don't shoot me down on this one, I don't like playing EVE that much. I've played EVE Online, and it hasn't really.
You haven't played with me.
Okay, well that's maybe it. That's maybe it.
Let's fix that.
But for me,
like, I need community support here. Tell Scott, get in, fleet, undock. I'll guide you.
Okay,
we'll get
good.
killed like 20 times that night, and we'll laugh it off.
Yeah, but I want to be in the universe. I still get this FOMO of like everything.
Yeah, like you said, you have people that are just in the stations doing their industry stuff because that is their game.
Yeah.
And you have people, and that actually translating into Vanguard, having these various playstyles is something that I'm super intrigued about.
Yeah, but like everyone who's playing EVE knows someone adjacent to them, a friend or a colleague or a distant ancestor that is EVE curious. It likes the idea of EVE, and Vanguard is that way in, right? For a lot of people who maybe don't want to play the spaceship game or some of the stigma attached to it being a spreadsheet, but they want in on the universe because the universe itself is fucking awesome, right? And all of the stories they hear about it. play it in a way that might be a bit more familiar to other people. Stick a gun in your hand, deploy down to the planet, and still be part of that universe, right? Like that new player journey. Watch MCCs in the sky get shot down, right? As ships are flying over you as you're fighting on the surface.
What I loved seeing in like the concept art and all those things was getting the understanding of scale.
Yeah. That was one of the first things we heard when we showed the FanFest 2023 demo off. You had the bowhead, like crashed. It was the first time a lot of people had gone, never seen a bowhead like that before, right? Yeah. Like I'd always just seen it in the UI or in context to space stations and other ships, but actually being a humanoid running around in the bowels of a bowhead is brilliant, and that's why we do this, right? It's just like that thing that you're used to seeing, like seeing, you can see a Caldari MCC in orbit, watch it get blown up from a perspective of being on the ground. And
you can imagine it's me. No.
Yeah, exactly. So this is why we do it. But like that mentality of like just New Eden is fucking awesome. Let's just get more people into New Eden. It doesn't matter if they're flying a ship or they have a gun in their hand. We want them to be in this universe, and the universe is better for the more people we can get in. So
come September, it's a short event, Operation Nemesis.
Yep.
It's something that there's no barrier to entry for people to actually come on and play the game. Just give it a try. Give us your feedback, or not. Just come in and play it. And if it's something you care for and would want to see progress, then absolutely. And to follow that, obviously, Vanguard socials, Vanguard Discord number 1, 2, and 3. When it comes to the discussion on how all of those things could evolve and everything like that. But what do you think? During the operation, are you expecting, because you mentioned earlier like the playstyles that would already be there, mostly gameplay, but the industrial part, the resource harvesting, are we testing that out as well?
Yeah, so we added manufacturing in for Operation Groundbreak, which was last year. We've now got more things for you to manufacture. It's still a large part of it. We've got 3 new weapons. Weapons are part of the manufacturing. You don't just have them. If you manufacture a weapon, you deploy down to the surface and you die with it, you've lost that weapon, right? Back when everything was numbered, back in, like dust, right? Everything that you take down and you die, you lose. And so that industrialist mentality of having enough resources to manufacture things for you, but maybe even manufacture things for your friends, right? Maybe that's who you are. Your friends just want to mindlessly run forwards and kill things. You're the person going, no, right, I've got enough biomass for you. No, I've got another weapon you can take. So manufacturing's still a big part of it. So that industrialist part of supplying, getting enough resources to drive you getting that shotgun, or you drive getting the blueprint that allows you to keep making that Amari rifle that we've been talking about, right? So there's some things that are definitely a big part of it. Everyone who plays in Operation Nemesis in September will go through the new player journey, so they'll get that introduction into the world that we want, and then you're kind of working towards then building out these new weapons and going through that loop. So everyone will have to get some resources. Everyone will have to do some mining. Everyone will have to do some scavenging and some killing to get those new weapons.
Sweet. We have a major issue. My drink is finished, so I think it's time to wrap it.
Yep. I said hurry up.
My last question. How good is Vanguard going to be?
How good is Vanguard going to be? Oh, it's going to be a franchise everyone's going to be talking about in 10 years' time.
That's it. That's all we needed to know. So, Scott, I'll take you up on that in 10 years. But until next time, it's nice hanging out. I even hit the rifter here at the end. By the way, did you see the Vexor I hit back there?
Oh,
it's pretty good.
Yeah.